This is good. I'm here with Elham Fardad, who is the author of Migrant Magic. Elham, maybe you could just wave that in front of the camera so that people can see it. Fantastic. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? It's one of the shortlisted titles from Practical Inspiration in this year's Business Book Awards. And this series of LinkedIn Lives, I'm just getting a chance to talk with each of those authors in turn and find out a little bit more about the backstory of the book. So first of all, welcome, Elham, and secondly, congratulations.
Thank you so much, Alison. I'm so happy to be here with you. I remember our first online introductory chat where I pitched to you the idea of the book, Migrant Magic, and you just got it. You really understood where I'm coming from, why this is linked to my background, and why this matters to readers. So it's a very special moment to be here with you today.
It is. It's lovely, sort of not completing that trajectory because the book goes on, but that, yes, looking back and at where this started, the impulse behind it. So, but let's let other people in on that. Why did you write this book?
To be honest, I never planned to write a book. I never planned it. And if I'm honest with you, at a school, I was a STEM student. I loved maths and science. I loved numbers, and the only times I was good at writing was when I really cared about the subject, the topic. For example, GCSE sociology comes to mind. I really found that interesting. It was the first time I liked something other than maths and science. But I never saw myself as a writer, certainly wasn't planning to write a book. But for me, Migrant Magic reached a point where, for the first time in my life, probably, I had such a strong urge to write, and I'm sure other writers, this resonates with them, such a strong urge to write. And all these thoughts and ideas and memories and anecdotes from my life were hovering in my head that I had to get it out. I had to get it out. Then what happened was, in my quest to recruit mentors for my charity, Migrant Leaders, we now have 2,000 mentors from 95 FTSE 100 firms. And in the last 6-7 years, I've had more than 1,000 meetings with corporate executives, many of whom themselves have interesting stories, some of whom are themselves migrants who are now very well established in the UK. And every time their story was interesting in those conversations, I made a little note in my metaphoric book, Black Book. I ended up with 400 little stories about really interesting corporate executives from migrant backgrounds. And if you remember, Alison, I remember I told you that in the first meeting, and you said, Elham, you can't put 400 stories in the same book. You need to select about 50, I remember. And it's
readers, you're welcome.
Yeah, thanks. Because it was a really tough thing to do because each of them were special in their own way. So I did narrow it down to 60 that I could include in the book, and then wrote the book with my own lessons and their stories to illustrate those lessons.
And that's one of the big challenges, isn't it, of using stories, because each story is unique, and you want to do justice to that story, and also you want that story to illustrate something bigger for the reader, because it isn't just about reading other people's stories. So and I think one of the things you do beautifully in the book is draw out the lessons from each of those stories while still honouring each person's story, which does lead me on to my second question, really, which is, why does this matter? So we've talked about, what your kind of impulse to write from yourself, but what you've done is turn it into something that's really useful for readers. Why do people need to read this book?
For me, the objective was ironically not about me. It wasn't even for me to tell my story or other people's stories. It was actually all about the reader. I always thought, if each of these migrant mentors, or if the hardships that I have gone through in my life and the lessons that I drew from those hardships took decades to learn those lessons, surely I can share those lessons from myself and these 60 other people so that the migrant leaders' mentees can benefit from those lessons and tips so that they can learn faster, better, and go further than we did in our lives. That was really the motivation, the readers.
And that matters, I think, for organizations too, doesn't it? Because there's so much talent currently being wasted, or so much underappreciation of the fact that that difference can contribute so enormously to the organization.
Yes, this is really important because you can literally calculate the loss to the economy. There is an interesting report, the Institute for Fiscal Studies, a very, very credible organization. They published the Dayton Review in 2021. And the Dayton Review said that in the UK, migrant children have double the rate of university degrees compared to the white British majority. So typically in the British population, 26% have university degrees, but in the migrant populations across genders and races, they have between 50 and 55% university degrees. And that's despite it's incredible. And that's despite the socioeconomic challenges that migrant children have. However, this educational achievement doesn't transcend into the job market because these same children who are so driven, so aspirational, so high attaining are still 6% behind in employment rates and even further behind in getting professional jobs and achieving managerial progression. So that's not fair. That really presses my fairness button. And at the same time, the British
going on there, isn't there?
Yeah, but also the British gave me all my opportunities. I'm a product of this country. I care about Britain at least as much as the average British person. I really care about this country. And it really upsets me to think that we are spending taxpayer resources or resources of hardworking families on educating these young people, but then we're not giving them a chance in the job market. And that is a loss to the economy, because if each of these young people don't achieve their professional potential, literally the taxes they would have paid in that difference in salary is a loss to the chancellor. And the economic growth they would have caused if they fulfill their potential professionally is a loss to the economy if they don't achieve that. So it's unacceptable, absolutely unacceptable.
And it's a lovely link between the personal stories and then the business and economic impact. Now, Elham, you were in the room with us when the shortlist was announced. How did it feel?
Disbelief. I have to admit, I'm usually good at estimating stuff. I didn't expect this number to land there. I did not expect for Migrant Magic to be in that short list and to have a chance to win, because I want it now. and in fact, I made a pledge. I said openly in social media that I will donate 1,000 copies of the book to schools across the country if Migrant Magic wins on the 10th of September, where myself and my husband will be. So I was delighted, really happy. I was surprised, not because I don't think Migrant Magic is amazing. I put my everything into writing this book. My heart, my soul, my mind, everything. And in fact, it was tough revisiting some memories, some of the hardships. So I am very proud of the book. And it's already made so much difference to the lives of thousands who tell me what a difference it made to them. I just was surprised. I guess it's the chip on my shoulder. I'm not a writer. I'm a numbers person. So I was a bit surprised that I would get any recognition for writing anything.
Well, you might have to rethink your definition of yourself as a writer as well as a numbers person now.
Yes, I'll have to.
It's testament to how the stories land. Yeah. Your self-image always lags behind the reality, doesn't it? But we are also very, very proud to have published the book, and to see the difference that it's making is wonderful. So we will be there on the 10th of September with everything crossed in our glad rags. And I'll see you then, keeping everything crossed.
Fingers crossed. Thank you so much, Alison. And I'm so glad you're part of this journey with me. And thank you so much for believing in that pitch that I gave you about Migrant Magic. I'm really grateful for that, because I needed someone accomplished like you to believe in that pitch. So thank you.
I think this is the greatest privilege as a publisher, to take ideas that you know matter and to help the author shape them into a book that really lands with people. So thanks for being part of it. And I shall see you on the 10th of September.
Yes, thank you.